This is FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. Get ready for the latest in film news, TV show news, and theatrical reviews. FilmBook's podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. My name is Chris Banks. If you're tuning in to FilmBookCast for the first time, what I do on this podcast is discuss the latest film and TV show news, as well as review an in-theater film. You can find more FilmBookCast on film-book.com by using the search term FilmBookCast. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com. with FilmBookCast in the subject line. Let's jump right into it this week. This week in movie trailers, a new trailer was released for The Batman. It's longer, it's very dark. It reminds me of The Dark Knight in its color scheme and its darkness. Robert Pattinson looks amazing, very energized, and I love his forceful moves. I really like what I've seen so far from Robert Pattinson's Batman. The movie looks like it's going to be an epic, and I really love who they cast as Commissioner Gordon in this. Check out the trailer for The Batman. Another trailer that caught my eye this week is a new one from The French Dispatch. Wes Anderson's sprawling ensemble cast. It looks funny, biting. I love Bill Murray's role in this. We need a movie by Wes Anderson. This film feels like it's just what the doctor ordered for movie lovers like us. So check out the trailer for The French Dispatch. Another trailer that caught my eye is Titane. It's a bloody horror thriller written and directed by Julia Ducournau. It stars Agatha Russell as a mentally disturbed woman who becomes pregnant after having sex with a car. The BBC called it the most shocking film of 2021, and when I saw the trailer, it blew me away because I love the art house, under-the-radar indie films, and this trailer hits that note big time. It is French, it's in French, but check out the trailer for Titane. This week in TV trailers, I had no idea they could redo I Know What You Did Last Summer and make it fun, exciting, dark. It's about a group of friends, as we know, who accidentally killed a person in a car. However, despite trying to cover up the mistake they did, it comes back to haunt each one of them in the form of an unknown serial killer who seems to know about the accident. Watch the trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's super cool and dark. I can't wait for this series from Amazon. Another new TV trailer for this week, High Drama, is in the second season trailer for Hightown. It debuts on Starz October 17th. All kinds of new threats and betrayals are coming up this season. Check out the season 2 trailer. It's about a picture-perfect version of summer on Cape Cod, and it clashes with its off-season reality. Jackie's achieving her dream of becoming a real cop, and she's out to do some real good in the world. Thrust immediately into the crime wave of deadly fentanyl flooding the Cape, Jackie is laser-focused on bringing down drug dealer Frankie, a man she holds responsible for the death of her best friend, Junior. For Jackie, it is personal, and then again, for Jackie, everything is personal. When Frankie's cousin George joins his operation, he introduces a new level of violence and chaos. With disgraced Officer Ray off the force and mired in depression, Jackie finds a new partner in Leslie, played by Tanya Glanz, the only other female on the force. Through it all, Jackie must walk a tightrope of sobriety as she struggles to stay above the ocean of secrets, betrayals, and the shame and failure of her past. Check out the Season 2 trailer for Hightown. It will debut on Starz October 17th. The last TV trailer we'll check out this week comes from the CW, and it's the first trailer for the upcoming third season of the Javicia Leslie-led Batwoman series, teasing the team's newest challenge. With most of Batman's dangerous villain trophies missing, the team enlists the help of Alice in order to track down the items and prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. Batwoman Season 3 will debut on the CW October 13th. You can check out the trailer for Season 3 now. We'll see the iconic classic Batman villain, including the Mad Hatter, Killer Croc, and more. It also gives us the first look at Victoria Cartagena's new iteration of Renee Montoya. Check out the Season 3 trailer. That's it for TV trailers. This week in streaming news, Apple TV released Foundation. It's based on the award-winning novel by Oscar Asimov, Foundation chronicles a band of exiles on their monumental journey to save humanity and rebuild civilization amid the fall of the Galactic Empire. The first 3 episodes of Foundation are currently available on Apple TV, and you can start streaming it now. Another new movie streaming comes from Netflix, and it's called The Guilty. It'll debut October 1st, and Jake Gyllenhaal plays a disgraced police officer and adds a go-for-broke turn that capitalizes on the actor's deep emotional reserves. You can check out The Guilty October 1st on Netflix. Birds of Paradise will be released on Amazon Prime Video. It's easy to dismiss Birds of Paradise as a Galileo-inflected ballet thriller, but it proves too intoxicating and possessed by its own spirits to be relegated to the shadows of its own influence. This movie, there's a real sense of danger. Check out Birds of Paradise on Amazon Prime Video. Intrusion is streaming on Netflix. It's an incredibly interesting story lurking about the way that mistrust and paranoia can slowly chip away at a marriage. Very interesting movie. Check out Intrusion on Netflix. That's it for streaming news. This week in TV news, Game of Thrones fans will be excited as the prequel series House of Dragons gains 7 new cast members. The upcoming prequel to HBO's Game of Thrones has announced 7 new additions to its ensemble cast. The 10-episode series is currently filming and is due to reach the streaming service January of 2022. Ryan Corr is cast as Sir Harwin Breakbone Strong. He's the strongest man in the 7 kingdoms, and the eldest son of Master Law's Lionel Strong and heir to Harrenhal. Jefferson Hall is cast as Lord Jason Lannister, Lord of Castle Rock and twin of Sir Tylan Lannister. David Horovitch is cast as Grand Master Melos, a voice of reason and trusted advisor to King Varys. Graham McTavish is cast as Sir Harold Westerling. He served as the King's Guard since the days of King Jaehaerys. He is a paragon of chivalry and honor. Matthew Needham is cast as Larry Strong, the youngest son of Master of Laws Lionel Strong, brought to court by his father. Bill Paterson is cast as Lord Lyman Beesbury. He's Lord of Honeyholt and Master of Coin on King Varys' small council. Gavin Spokes is cast as Lord Lionel Strong, the Master of Laws to King Varys and Lord of Harrenhal. Continuing this week in TV news, Netflix unveiled new artwork for Ultraman Season 2, ahead of its release date next year. No further release date window has been revealed for the 2nd season of the show, but it was reconfirmed that it will premiere on Netflix next year. Several years has passed since the events of Ultraman, the legendary giant of light, now a memory. It's believed he returned home after fighting that many giant aliens that invaded the Earth. Shin Hayata's son, Shurinro, seems to possess a strange ability, and it is the ability, along with his father's revelation that he was an Ultraman, that leads Shinhiro to battle the new aliens invading the Earth as the new Ultraman. The first season of Ultraman, which is comprised of 13 episodes, is now streaming on Netflix. A feature film is also in production at the streamer. Wrapping up this week in TV news is some sad news, as the autopsy results have showed that The Wire actor Michael K. Williams died of a drug overdose, an accidental overdose of drugs. He was found dead in his Brooklyn apartment on September 6th. Acute intoxication by the combined effects of fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine was the cause of death determined by the medical examiner. Williams' colleagues remembered his special talent for humanizing the characters he portrayed, bringing to his roles his own experience as a black man growing up in New York City. Among the real-life struggles he tapped were bouts with drug addiction, which he brought to his best-known role, The Wire. During his career, Michael K. Williams earned Emmy nominations for performances in HBO's Bessie, The Night Of, and Lovecraft Country. He won so much praise for his role in the 2019 Netflix series When They See Us. May Michael K. Williams rest in peace and power. This week in movie news, Netflix is developing a fantasy novel, Beasts of Prey, for film. Clubhouse Pictures will produce the first planned fantasy. Written by Ayanna Gray, the story follows 2 black teenagers who strike a dangerous alliance and head out on a journey to hunt down the vicious monster menacing their hometown, uncovering deadly secrets along the way. The book is due out September 28th, and Melody Cooper has been tapped to adapt the screenplay. Some more movie news this week comes out of the Many Saints of Newark. Ray Liotta revealed that he passed on playing Ralphie, but there was rumors for many years that he turned down the role of Tony Soprano. But apparently that isn't true. Liotta said, "David once talked to me about playing Ralphie, but never Tony. He's quoted as saying, "I didn't want to do another mafia thing, and I was shooting Hannibal. It just didn't feel right at the time." An interesting note about Liotta turning down The Sopranos back then is Ray Liotta actually aggressively pursued a role in the Many Saints of Newark. He says, "I'm really not sure what made me so determined to get the role, but I was, and luckily it all worked out." It may be because Ray Liotta actually grew up in New Jersey in the 1960s, and it's exactly where the Many Saints of Newark is based in. The Many Saints of Newark comes out next week. Following along this week in movie news is The Tender Bar has gotten its release date. George Clooney's latest directorial effort is being released by Amazon, and it stars Ben Affleck. The Tender Bar will be released December 17th, limitedly in New York and LA, before going nationally on December 22nd. The Tender Bar will also be released on Prime Video on January 7th. William Monahan, who wrote The Departed, penned the screenplay that is based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning memoir from J.R. Moriners of the same name. The Tender Bar follows J.R., a fatherless boy growing up on Long Island, who seeks out father figures among patrons at a bar run by his uncle, played by Ben Affleck. Lily Rabe and Christopher Lloyd also star in the movie. The last bit of movie news we'll cover this week is another George Clooney story, as streamers and studios line up to buy George Clooney and Brad Pitt's latest film. Directed by John Watts, the new movie features Ocean's 11 team George Clooney and Brad Pitt, but plot details are scarce. But apparently, the movie focuses on two fixers who get the same gig. We will keep up as news breaks regarding this film. That's it for movie news for this week. All right. Time for this week's movie review. For this week's movie review, we're checking out Paul Schrader's The Card Counter. It came out the beginning of September. It's in theaters. It stars Oscar Isaac, Tiffany Haddish, Ty Sheridan, Willem Dafoe. It's about William Tell, played by Oscar Isaac. He's a gambler and a former serviceman who sets out to reform a young man seeking revenge on a mutual enemy. Tell just wants to play cards. His Spartan existence on the casino trail is shattered when he is approached by Kirk, a vulnerable and angry young man seeking help to execute his plan for revenge on a military colonel. Tell sees a chance at redemption through his relationship with Kirk. That's an awfully generic description for a very good and dynamic film. I love Oscar Isaac. He's like one of the best, I think he's one of the best actors in the game. And I love Tiffany Haddish. Ty Sheridan plays Kirk. It's a great character, and we'll get more into it. Willem Dafoe plays Major John Gordo, which I had no idea going into this film what it was going to be about. I knew it looked intriguing. I love Paul Schrader. I love Oscar Isaac. I love the trailer. I love the idea of, an ex-convict who learned how to count cards in jail, going out there and making money and going from town to town and, covering his tracks, making sure that he's not busted. William Tell, played by Oscar Isaac, purposefully goes around and aims low and doesn't try to get the big jackpot or steal all kinds of money from the house. He just tries to win each hand. He's very practical. He's very logical. We get a sense of how he was like in jail, how jail provided him with structure, because William Tell served in the military with Willem Dafoe's character, Major John. They unfortunately were in charge of intelligence gathering, which, because of a certain administration in our history, meant that our military was literally used for torturing other people, and this had never happened before in American military history. And it's a very disturbing flashback. As a viewer, we get disturbing flashbacks to Abu Ghraib, to these torture prison camps that our military disgustingly, unfortunately, built under the illusion of intelligence gathering. William Tell speaks on this, that our leaders, the administration, post 9/11, really kind of reacted in fear to everything. They had no plan. They really didn't know what to do. So they just pressed all the buttons, all the red buttons at the same time, because to them, at least they were doing something, that wouldn't make them look like the idiots that they were for allowing 9/11 to happen, and so they really went out of bounds with what they did. Dick Cheney, a movie like Vice speaks on what Dick Cheney did inside that administration. He really was the driver of the car. Him and Donald Rumsfeld made horrifically damaging and self-harming decisions that in their minds was done to quote-unquote keep Americans safe, but in my opinion, it made us more vulnerable and actually destroyed the country, because law is set up, the Constitution is such a way, our military forever was used in such a way that what Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld allowed the institution of government and our military to do, I think, in my opinion, fundamentally destroyed all of the precedent that 200 plus years of American history built up, and the movie kind of speaks on the human cost of those decisions. It was all bad what happened post 9/11. 9/11 was a horrific event, and then everything that's happened past has been equally horrific. William, played by Oscar, has a hand in all this, and he knows that it's wrong. He knows that it was bad. He knows that we, who are supposed to be the heroes, ended up acting just like the terrorists, because of really bad decisions made by the very, very top. What the film speaks to also is the bullshit nature of what happened after we found out about the torture, after the torture became public. The soldiers were the ones who paid the price for that. The soldiers paid the price for bad decisions being made by their superiors. And that's fundamentally wrong. And we have to straighten this out as a people. William Tell's character is trying to straighten this up within himself, and he spends 8 years in prison because of this. And while in prison, he uses the time, for the first time in his life, he has structure, good structure. The military is toxic structure, it's necessary. It needs to exist, and people who have a desire to serve and join should do that. But there are so many better ways to gain structure in one's life. And jail is equally not a good place to gain structure, but the best of jail means that a person can walk out of it with an actual better life than what they walked into it with. And that's, I think, the politics of today and all the noise makes us lose these basic points about the whys and the hows and the whats and the wheres, but this movie, I really believe, slows everything down to where you see William Tell and why he does what he does. And then we get introduced to a character like Kirk, played by Ty Sheridan, who is really just a lost, angry, young white male. You can chalk him up to the tens of millions other young, disillusioned, angry white males that are in this country, because our country has mirrored the Middle East since 9/11. That's what happens when you make the wrong decisions and you do bad things. That we, as a society, are now mirroring the society in the Middle East. And that's where we have to put the brakes on, pump the brakes, right? And William Tell's character does this when he meets Kirk. It's such a beautiful, yet intense, and really terrifying sequence where William and Kirk are going from town to town, and they're getting to know one another, but there's always a air of dangerousness around William. No one knows why, because he's mysterious. But because of the mysteriousness, he's also dangerous. So we get to the very, very climax point where, for the whole movie, Kirk is sharing with us how he wants to kill this colonel who trained his dad to torture. And his dad, killed himself. And Kirk has had a horrible life because of this. And this is what I mean about the human cost of bad decisions made by the very top of our government. And we as citizens have to start learning these things, because it's the only way we're going to start voting for better people. Right now, we're just kind of spinning out of control, and we have to see that the effects of these decisions were all bad. And Kirk represents that anger, that disillusionment, that fundamental anger, because we are wasting a lot of our time. The country's not living up to its potential. We are spinning out of control, and Kirk is caught up in all of this. He wants to go and kill his dad's boss because in his mind it's revenge. William, the man who Kirk wants to kill, was William's boss at Abu Ghraib. So William lets Kirk kind of run around in his fantasies for long enough until we get to the very end, where William scares the shit out of us as a viewer, and Kirk. He really teaches Kirk a lesson. And I love this scene because it teaches all young white males that they have to use their emotions in a much better way, and they have to first seek to understand where those emotions come from, because we're seeing Kirk is just one of many, unfortunately, in this country who are going out there and committing acts of violence and hurting other people because of the way that they feel. In the movie, I had no idea would speak on any of this, and it's a very beautiful theme to speak on because it's powerful. The whys and the whats of this are much bigger than this film, and William kind of represents that, and Kirk represents the young person who doesn't really get it, who doesn't understand that the things he sees on the internet versus the real world are two completely different things. And we have to start to bridge that as a culture and understand that, we can't be acting in relation to what we see or whatever on the internet. The internet is its own space. The world still exists, and we have to still live in the world. We can't live in the internet, because Kirk and all these movie theater, pizza shop, all these shooters who go, just like the Middle East, they go and hurt people because they're hurt. We have to stop doing this stuff. We have to grow up as a people. And we first have to understand why these atrocities happened, why the military was abused this way, and why we then abused other people. Until we understand the facts, we will continue to spin out of control. And Tiffany Haddish plays basically like a pimp, like a poker card counter pimp, where she just runs a stable of card counters and makes, that's how she makes her money. But William and La Linda develop an awesome romance and love story, and that's also a part of the film. And the card counter is a very complex, amazing, relevant, intense story that I didn't know was going to be at the beginning of it. It's not really a crime thriller more than it is a fear thriller. It's not like a horror, but there's always an element of fear or what is going to happen from scene to scene. It's very good. It's very well done. I think that the plot points could have been connected better. I think that certain scenes could be deeper and go longer. But overall, it's a beautiful film. The shots are phenomenal. Paul Schrader, amazing job. I would give the ratings aren't that good, but I would give the film an 8 out of 10. So I'm not sure why the ratings aren't as good, because I would give it an 8 out of 10 easy. Go check it out in theaters. The Card Counter, starring Oscar Isaac, Tiffany Haddish, Ty Sheridan. Willem Dafoe is awesome in this. I didn't really touch on him that much, but go check out The Card Counter. They're probably going to pull it out of theaters pretty soon, but it'll be on video on demand. But it's still in theaters. Go check it out, and I hope you like it as much as I did. Thanks so much for checking us out this week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of FilmBookCast. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search for Chris Banks or FilmBookCast. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at CBanksy. That's S-E-E Banksy. I'm also on Instagram at the Chris Banks. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening on our YouTube channel, FilmBook Podcast, please like our video. Subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment in the comment section. It really helps other people discover our podcast. Please also becoming one of our patrons on Patreon at patreon.com/filmbook. Your support helps us create more engaging content. You'll find our Patreon link below in the description. If you want to tweet about this podcast, just use the hashtag FilmBookCast. Tune in next week for the next episode of the FilmBookCast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you then.